The lawyer finished reading the will. Then she said there was a second property. Emily didn't ask a single question in that room. Her hands were flat on the table, steady in a way that surprised her, and she just wrote the address down and folded the paper into her pocket like it might disappear if she let go of it. 40 minutes later, she was parked outside a house she had never seen in her life. Small, well kept, a child's bicycle leaning against the porch rail. A light was on in the kitchen window, warm and yellow against the dark. She didn't knock. She sat there for 11 minutes, engine off, watching curtains move behind glass, and she didn't know yet that the hardest part wasn't the house in front of her. It was what her own signature had already done to build it. She drove home without turning the radio on. She didn't remember the drive. The property records came back 4 days later. Emily opened the envelope, standing at her kitchen counter, still in her coat. The deed was filed 11 years earlier, the same year she and Ryan had renovated their kitchen. He told her money was tight that year. She remembered nodding, agreeing to wait on the countertops, feeling proud of how practical they were being together. She wasn't ready for what came next. The mortgage had been paid every single month for 11 years, straight out of an account she managed herself, an account she and Ryan had opened together and called their future, back when the word future had still meant something simple. Her signature was on every transfer, page after page, the same looping E, the same careless slant she'd had since college. She wasn't looking at a stranger's secret anymore. She was looking at her own name over and over, funding a life she never knew was being built 2 counties away. That was the moment the question changed. It was no longer who is she. It was what else did I sign? Emily didn't call anyone that night. She sat at her kitchen table until the house went quiet around her. 11 years of bank statements spread out like something that needed to be diagnosed. And she started lining up dates against her own family calendar, the one still taped inside the pantry door. The kitchen renovation, same month, a transfer into the other account. Her hand went still over the page. Her son's first car, bought the spring he turned 16, the day he'd hugged her so hard she'd laughed. Same week, almost the same amount, moved again, silent and unnoticed. Her daughter's tuition, the September she left for college, the day Emily had cried in the parking lot after the car pulled away. 3 days later, the identical sum into the same mortgage, like an echo she'd never been meant to hear. Emily stopped moving entirely. The kitchen clock was the only sound left in the house. This wasn't a man hiding a second family and hoping it stayed buried. This was 2 lives, timed to mirror each other, milestone for 11 straight years, and every dollar had come from an account with her name on it, approved by her own hand, believed every time to be their future. She hadn't just been lied to, she had been paying for the life that replaced her, one celebration at a time, without ever knowing there were 2 of everything. 2 kitchens, 2 cars bought the same season, 2 children starting new chapters 3 days apart, funded from the same well she thought only she was drawing from. She sat with that for a long time before she let herself feel anything at all. She didn't drive back to that house in anger. She printed every transaction instead, 11 years of them, laid beside her own family's calendar on the kitchen table until the pattern didn't need explaining to anyone, least of all herself. When she finally did knock on the door with the bicycle beside it, the woman who answered looked at her the way you look at someone you've been half expecting for years. Emily didn't ask about the affair. She didn't ask how long or how many times or any of the questions she'd rehearsed in the car. She asked one thing only. She asked if the woman had ever wondered why the money always seemed to arrive exactly when they needed it. The woman's face changed slowly, like something shifting under ice. She had no answer. She had never known there was a pattern. She had only known there was a house and a man who came and went, and a life that always moved forward at exactly the right time. New tires the same week her own daughter turned 16, a small kitchen update the same spring theirs had been done, and she had never once asked why their timing always felt so lucky. Neither of them said anything for a moment. 2 women standing in a doorway, discovering the same betrayal from 2 completely different distances. Emily walked away the same way she'd arrived, quiet, composed, carrying paper instead of grief. Though the grief was still there, folded somewhere underneath the composure, waiting for a night when no one needed her to be steady. She didn't need the kind of revenge people imagine, the kind with raised voices and slammed doors. The truth had already done the damage on its own, complete and irreversible, the moment the dates lined up. All she had left to do was let it reach the people who had never known, whose signature had been quietly paying for their lives. The estate, the family, the small quiet machinery of an 11-year secret that had finally run out of places to hide. In 14 years, I have not heard a better description of how most of these stories actually end. Not with a confession, not with a confrontation, with a woman at her kitchen table, past midnight, matching dates on a piece of paper, finally understanding that the life she thought she was building had been quietly paying for the one that replaced it the entire time, without her ever seeing it, until the pattern simply refused to stay hidden any longer. If this file affected you, you're not alone. Next week's case starts with a single line in a will nobody thought to question. Subscribe if you want to know where that one leads.